What's up, everybody? It's time for the next Star Wars Andor review. We're gonna see if Pippa decides to, yeah, she's being very, as we say, restless this morning. Come on, sweetie. This is this is what I deal with. Yes, come on, sweetie. Yes, you're just wanting to be. Come on, come here. Let's do the review together. Come on, sweetie. Her and her sister are both recovering from surgery, and yeah, she was the one who had the abscess that burst on Tuesday, and we have an emergency surgery. So I got to keep them on lockdown, and so I have had them in here so Chris can get some sleep. So let's do Andor review because we're like, I don't know, a minute into this video and I haven't even talked Star Wars yet. Um, Episode 11 came out today and just finished watching it. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning my time, and this is one of the slower episodes of the season, but still an important episode because it pushes the story forward, and it's basically we're in the setting up the stage for season two part of the show, because season two is bridging the gap between the end of this one and Rogue One. And we already know that season two, which I think starts filming in a week or so, in a few days actually, it's the 16th. I think it starts filming on the 21st. And it's broken into 4 years. So there's four different blocks of 3 episodes that span the 4 years between this season and Rogue One. So again, this is a slower episode. Still got some fun stuff that happens. We're going to talk about it. Again, spoiler alert. I don't do spoiler free reviews, so lots of spoilery stuff going to be happening in this episode. Are you going to sleep now? Maybe? Want to show everybody where you're at right now? Yeah. All right. If you haven't already done so, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And if you can support, which hopefully you can, we'll talk about that more at the end. But in the meantime, let's just get into the review and talk Star Wars. So, the opening sequence of, I think his name is Melshi and Andor hanging on the side of these cliffs waiting for the scout ships to leave. Just pure desperation here as they're trying to escape their lives. And then we immediately flash forward to Ferrix, and it turns out that Andor's mother has died. And the poor droid B is just, he's not coping well, and he wants his mother, and he's not happy with all the people that are in his house and everything else. And I was in the back of my mind going, what is this going to do for the ISB's plan, or Cinta's plan for that matter? And then it flashes back to both of them. They're in like a coffee shop across the street, and the one agent is like sipping a coffee. He's like, "Ah, hey, what's going on here?" And Cinta apparently is now a waitress at the coffee shop. And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. I've just, I've only been here a week. I don't know what's going on." Um, then we're back to Andor and his buddy Melshi on the planet, and there's a couple of like fishermen, I guess, or hunters, and they've got them sort of a rust bucket quad jumper, and they're not sure they can fly it, but Melshi is just freaking out, like, "We got to get out of here." And so run, 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 try to run for the ship. And I laughed my ass off because as they're running, the hunters start chuckling as they watch these two guys. And you're like, oh no, something bad's about to happen. And sure enough, as they're running, a couple of automatic like traps spring up and shoot webbing all over these guys and capture them. And I was like, oh no, that's not good. Um, so yeah, Um, we then get a scene with Dedra where she's telling the ISB agents on the planet that they need to go ahead and make an exception because the planet's on lockdown at this point. And they don't want to let the locals do anything, but they want to make an exception for Andor for his mother's funeral and allow them to have a funeral because she's like, we want a tight circle. We want them all in one place. We want to see what happens because again, they're still using Cassian's mother as bait, hoping that he'll show up. We then get this tense scene with the aliens on the planet as Melshi and Cassian have been captured. And the way this played out was brilliant because they keep you thinking that these guys might actually be about to turn them in for a bounty because these guys talking in broken common, it's not common tongue. What is it called? Galactic. can't remember the language. Anyway, and he's like, bounty on your heads, prison planet. You guys have ruined all the water. And they're like, no, it wasn't us. It's the Imperials. It's the Empire. And he's like, always the Empire. Blah, blah, blah. And it turns out he's actually hates the Empire. And the hunters let the guys go and then offer them a ride wherever they want to go. And so Andor's like, can you take us back to the cruise ship planet, that tourist planet I was on? Excuse me. We're back to Coruscant. Vel has shown up at Luthen's office. He just doesn't want to tell him where he is. She's like, we got rules for a reason, and Vel is just here to report that Andor's mother has died. They were back to Ferrix. The ISB is keeping an eye on the house, and Andor's big buddy, who was in the episode 1, his big friend, shows up to get the droid. Droid doesn't want to leave. He's like, look, B, she's gone. Mother's gone. And he's like, I don't want to leave the house. Can you please stay here? And he's just like, yeah, one night. I can stay here one night. And meanwhile, Bix is dealing with the post-torture. She's totally messed up. And they're questioning her about Anton Krieger, wanting to know if she knows the name or the face and if this is the man that she introduced to Cassian. And she breaks down kind of crying. She can't answer, but at the same time, it's like, we know that's not the man because she introduced him to Luthen. So they're sort of spinning their wheels on the wrong trail, but you know, it's all good. It all comes back around. Meanwhile, we're on Mon Mothma in her house on Coruscant, and she and Vel are discussing how I guess it looks like Mothma's daughter has joined some sort of a religion or something, which is part of the old ways, but I think it somehow ties into the wedding proposal, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. And then she finally comes clean to Vel about all her money issues and the fact that she's in deep poodoo. And just the way this scene plays out, she's extremely tortured over the fact that she's having to sacrifice her daughter in this wedding ceremony, giving her away as, a trophy, all because of her screw up and for the cause. And this is it's further proof for me of how, this is the difference between prestige television and what Rings of Power tried to produce, because this is really good acting and really good writing and brilliant showmanship and storytelling. Um, Cyril's got a call. It's from the sergeant who helped him out on the planet originally, and turns out he has heard about Andor's funeral. Um, Cyril wants to know more, and he ends up stealing. I think he steals credits or something from the safe at his mom's house, and then I think he's heading out to try to find Andor now. So we'll see. Andor and Melshi make it back to the tourist planet where Andor is captured. His credit box is still there with a weapon. So, I mean, Cassian's back in action at this point. And then we get the best scene of the entire episode. And this is the masterclass in acting. Anytime they put these two guys on screen together, I'm just like blown away. So we've got Luthen and Saw. Saw is an extremely paranoid individual whose mind, he's not quite sane. And he is he's telling Luthen, he's like, I'm in for the Spellhouse operation. Tell Krieger if he agrees to these terms, I'm in. And Luthen actually, to his credit, I don't know if it's legit or if he's playing an act, but he appears to be extremely tortured as he explains to Saw that I can't let you go. The Imperials know they're lying in wait. And then Saw freaks out. He's like, you're going to burn him, which means either you're an ISB agent or you've got someone that you're protecting. How do I know I can trust you? You seem to have men everywhere. You've probably even got men in my camp. And he just starts to have a complete meltdown. And Luthen's like, you're avoiding the question, do we go or do we sacrifice him? You need to make the call. And Saw doesn't want to make the call. And he starts freaking out about, Luthen having an agent in his camp. And the Luthen just points to one of the guards and he's like, it's that guy. And Saw just starts having a meltdown about how this guy's a traitor and everything else. And while this is going on, Luthen gets close, pulls Saw's blaster out of his holster and points it at his head. And Saw's like, you know, you're not gonna make it out of here alive. And Luthen's like, I realize that, but this is the only way to get your attention to make you calm down and start thinking rationally. And he just explains to him, he's like, look, you know, we can go rescue him. It's on the table, but it's going to throw away all these years of work and we will lose everything, and the ISB will now know that we're on to them. Or we sacrifice him and his 30 men. They will think they've won, and we will have an open playing field to do whatever we want. And Saw finally comes down and he's like, for the greater good, and you know, and let's call it war, he says. So Saw has tipped now, and yeah, we're at war. And in war, you know, it's that's the shitty part about war. And that's one of the things I love about this show so far is it's a show about good people having to do bad things, fighting evil with evil. Like the Empire is so bad and so ruthless and so cutthroat and so the only way to get past it is to do the things. I think they said it Luthen's speech in the last episode when he's like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I've been forced to use the methods of my enemy to overcome my enemy was something like he said, and that's essentially what this is right here. And it's so heartbreaking, but also realistic. Yeah, masterclass in acting here. Um, we then see Luthen trying to leave the planet. He's in contact with his assistant, but he gets cut off as an Imperial ship overtakes him as he's leaving the planet. And this scene is awesome just for pure Star Warsness because it shows what a badass Luthen is. Um, it's a scout ship. They get him in a tractor beam. They want to bring him aboard for questioning. Um, his code checks out, but the captain's like, doesn't matter. You know, you could use the practice. And Luthen has all these countermeasures ready. And the way he does it is so brilliant. So he like pretends that an engine is malfunctioning as the tractor beam is pulling him in, and then he pushes the thrusters forward, and they take the tractor beam from level 2 to level 5 to lock in on the ship and to try to keep him from escaping, which makes that tractor beam even more powerful. And then as he does this, he flips a switch and he dumps these countermeasures, which is like a bunch of caltrops or spikes or whatever, and they all go flying back down the tractor beam and hit that dish and blow it up. And then Luthen's free, and there's this fight chase sequence with TIE fighters and a TIE bomber, and he blows up some ships and escapes into hyperspace. And I was just like, oh man, this is, you know, Han Solo. You know, this is a spy dude, and he's really good at what he's a master of his craft. And you know, an Imperial scout vessel is nothing for him. You know, and he disappears. It was really, really well done. Um, Cassian checks in at his home planet to leave a message to his mom and then finds out his mom has passed. And the final scene of this episode is him and Melshi on the planet and Melshi going off about how they need to separate so they can make sure they get the word out about what's going on. Um, there have to be, you know, they have to get the word out. They need to split up to have better chances. And Cassian is just all sorts of wrecked right now that his mom has died. And, you know, it's a fade to black moment as he's basically tearful on the beach. And you know he's going to show up for the funeral. That's going to be the last episode of the show, but it's just a really good way to end this episode. So while this episode was a slower episode, um, I'm still in it to win it here. So for me, it's still 10 out of 10 for storytelling and some of the scenes we got in master classes and acting. So for me, 10 out of 10 as always. I've not had a single episode of this show that I have disliked. So this is for me, this is peak, like more peak Star Wars from Disney Plus. Just I can't get enough. So thumbs up for me. If you've gotten to the end and you liked my review and you want more, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Hopefully, I've also inspired you to support the channel in some way because you're feeding me and you're also feeding our little kittens and helping out and everything else. So you could drop a super thanks on this video after it's been uploaded. If you're here during a premiere or a live stream, you can also do super chats and stickers, and you can also join as a member of the Adventurers Guild down there. There's 3 different tiers which allow you to contribute and join the ranks of all of these people who are also over at our Patreon page if you want to check that out, where my wife and I, along with my brother, have our fantastical world of the Weave and the Void, which is a 5th edition world, which is a tabletop setting, as well as a point and click adventure game and a book series. So check that out. Until next time, everybody, stay safe and may the force be with you.